They told me it was honor. They told me it was culture. They told me to smile and stay silent. I was 16 when my father's debt sold me into the marble halls of Rome, into a world where powerful men called cruelty normal, and boys like me were nothing more than decoration. I learned quickly, if I resisted, I would be destroyed. If I obeyed, I would disappear. So I chose something else. I chose to listen. I chose to learn. And I chose to bring down the man who thought he owned me. I used to believe my life would always smell like iron and smoke. I was a blacksmith's son. My father, Marcus, would say, "Steel listens to strong hands." I believed him. I believed I would grow strong beside him. One night I heard him whispering to my mother, "Livia, we can't pay them," my father said. "They won't take our son," my mother replied, her voice shaking. I stayed quiet behind the curtain. I felt something cold settle inside me. The tax collectors arrived at dawn. Soldiers stood behind them. One man unrolled a scroll. "Marcus, your debt stands unpaid." "I need more time," my father said. "The harvest failed. You were given time." My mother grabbed my arm. "Stay inside," she whispered. But I stepped out. "Father?" The collector looked at me. His eyes measured me like livestock. "You have something of value." My father's voice broke. "No." Two soldiers held him down. I shouted, "Let him go." The collector shrugged. "Debt must be paid." My mother cried, "Please take the forge. Take the house. We will take the boy." I still hear that sentence in my sleep. My father looked at me. "Forgive me," he said. I tried to fight. I kicked and screamed. A soldier struck me hard across the face. My ears rang. They dragged me to the cart. My mother ran after us. "He is just a child." I shouted, "I'll come back. I promise." But I didn't believe it. At the market town they handed me to a slave trader named Cassius. He smelled of perfume and wine. He lifted my chin with 2 fingers. Strong jaw. Clear eyes. "He'll fetch a fine price." "I'm not for sale," I spat. He smiled. "Everyone is." My father stood nearby, held by soldiers. "Be brave," he called. Cassius pressed a coin pouch into the collector's hand. I heard the clink. That was the price of me. "You will live better than this," Cassius told me, gripping my chin tighter. I wanted to bite him. I wanted to scream. Instead, I swallowed my pride. I would not cry in front of him. They chained my wrists and pushed me into a transport cart. 2 other boys sat inside. One glared at me. "What did you do?" he asked. "Nothing," I said. He laughed bitterly. "That's always the answer." "My name is Darius," he said. "And I won't bow to anyone." Across from us, a smaller boy trembled. "I want to go home," he whispered. "What's your name?" I asked gently. "Lucan." Darius snorted. "Forget home. Rome eats boys like us." The cart jolted forward. I looked back one last time. My village grew smaller until it disappeared. Hours passed. Lucan wiped his tears. "Do you think they'll make us work in fields?" "Maybe," I said, though I doubted it. Darius leaned closer. "No. Cassius sells pretty boys to rich men." My stomach tightened. "For what?" He held my gaze. "You'll see." When the walls of Rome appeared, I forgot how to breathe. The city was massive. Marble buildings touched the sky. People crowded the streets. Lucan whispered, "It's beautiful." "It's a cage," Darius muttered. The cart stopped before a grand villa. Tall gates. Polished stone. Guards everywhere. Cassius climbed down. "Stand straight," he ordered us. A man in fine robes stepped out. His eyes were calm and cold. "These are the boys?" "Yes, Senator," Cassius replied smoothly. "Fresh and unspoiled." The senator studied me. "This one." Cassius pushed me forward. "How old are you?" the senator asked. 16, I said. He nodded slowly. "He will do." "Do for what?" I wanted to ask. But I already understood this was not about farm work. Cassius smiled as coins exchanged hands. "A wise choice, Senator Valerius." Valerius looked at me like I was an object he had just purchased. "Welcome to Rome," he said. I felt the chains on my wrists grow heavier. Something worse than slavery had just begun. The gates closed behind me with a heavy sound that echoed in my chest. I stared at the marble floors and painted walls. Everything shone. I felt smaller with every step. A tall man with sharp eyes approached me. "I am Septimus," he said. "You will answer to me." "I belong to him now," I whispered. "You belong to Rome," Septimus replied calmly. His words felt colder than chains. He circled me. "Stand straight." shoulders back. You are not a farm animal anymore. Then what am I? I asked. He held my gaze. You are an investment. He led me through long halls into a quiet chamber. 3 young men stood inside. They were dressed in fine tunics. They looked clean, polished, empty. This is Titus, Septimus said. Titus bowed quickly. Welcome, he murmured without emotion. This is Felix. Felix smiled at me. Try not to look so afraid. It makes them curious. And Gaius. An older man stood near the wall, silent and watchful. He nodded once. Listen more than you speak, he said softly. Septimus clasped his hands behind his back. You will be trained. You will speak gently. You will walk gracefully. You will never interrupt your master. And if I do? I asked. Septimus did not blink. You will learn. Felix leaned closer to me after Septimus stepped away. That means pain, he whispered. Titus kept his eyes on the floor. Do as you're told. It's easier. I clenched my fist. I won't bow forever. Felix's smile faded. We all said that once. Training began the same day. Septimus adjusted my posture with a firm hand. No slouching. He lifted my chin. When you smile, soften your eyes. Not your teeth. I'm not a performer, I muttered. You are whatever he requires, Septimus replied. They changed my clothes. They trimmed my hair. They scrubbed my skin until it burned. Walk again, Septimus ordered. I walked. Too stiff. I walked again. Too proud. What do you want from me? I snapped. Perfection, he answered. Later, Titus showed me how to pour wine without spilling a drop. Slow hands, he said quietly. Never shake. Felix practiced conversation with me. If he speaks of politics, you listen. If he jokes, you laugh. If he is silent, you are invisible. And what about what I feel? I asked. Felix looked away. That is not required. That night, I sat beside Gaius in the courtyard. How long have you been here? I asked. Long enough, he replied. Does it ever end? He studied me carefully. Only if you survive. I swallowed hard. This is normal to them? Yes, he said. To them this is culture. Power. Luxury. I thought about my father's forge. Smoke and sweat felt honest. This place felt polished and cruel. The next morning, Septimus corrected the way I spoke. Lower your tone. Gentle. You are not arguing in a market. I am not property, I said under my breath. He stepped closer. You are what Rome says you are. Titus avoided my eyes. Felix forced another charming smile. I felt something inside me cracking. They were shaping me into someone else. Every command erased a piece of the boy I used to be. But as I lay awake that night, I whispered to myself, they can train my voice. They can change my walk. But they will not own my mind. Hope felt thin. Still I held on to it. Weeks passed and I learned how to survive. I smiled when I wanted to scream. I bowed when I wanted to fight. I watched everything. Felix noticed first. You're quieter, he said as we prepared the dining hall. I'm listening, I replied. That's dangerous, he warned. One evening, Septimus summoned me. You will attend the master tonight. Speak only if addressed. I understand, I said smoothly. Inside the grand chamber, I stood beside Senator Valerius. He rested a hand on my shoulder as if I were furniture. A woman entered, draped in silk. Her eyes scanned me like I was fabric. This is the new one? She asked. Yes, Aurelia, Valerius replied. Strong posture. Refined already. Aurelia stepped closer to me. Turn. I obeyed. She touched my chin lightly. Not as delicate as the last. But he will do. I kept my face calm, though her words burned. I am standing here, I said carefully. She laughed softly. Of course you are. Valerius poured wine. He learns quickly. I invest wisely. Just ensure he does not grow proud, Aurelia replied. Property must remember its place. I said before I could stop myself. Valerius squeezed my shoulder harder. He speaks when permitted. Octavian arrived later that night. He embraced Valerius. You always surround yourself with beauty. Valerius gestured toward me. Rome rewards success. Octavian studied me openly. Does he entertain as well as he stands? I exceed expectations, Valerius answered before I could. They spoke of politics while I refilled cups. They argued about land deals and bribes as if discussing weather. Octavian said, You grow bold, Valerius. Envy follows power. Valerius smiled. Let them envy. I realized then they did not see me. I was decoration. A trophy. Later, Felix joined me in the courtyard. How was it? He asked. I was praised like a horse, I said. Felix gave a hollow laugh. At least horses work in sunlight. Why do you smile for them? I asked. He stared at the fountain. If we resist, we die. If we obey, we disappear. His words settled deep inside me. I don't want to disappear, I whispered. Then what do you want? I hesitated. Control. Before he could answer, shouting echoed from the corridor. Septimus dragged Lucan forward. The boy's face was pale, his hands shaking. What happened? I demanded. He refused a command, Septimus said coldly. Lucan looked at me. I said no. My heart pounded. Why? I couldn't, he whispered. Valerius stepped into the hall. Defiance spreads like disease. I'm sorry, Lucan cried. Please. Aurelia's voice cut through the air. Make an example. I stepped forward. He's just afraid. Valerius turned to me slowly. Are you questioning discipline? No, I said quickly. Lucan reached for me. Help me. I froze. Septimus struck him hard. Lucan fell. The sound echoed. Please? Lucan screamed. I clenched my fist so tightly my nails cut my skin. Felix whispered beside me, Don't move. Every part of me wanted to fight. But I remembered my father on his knees. Lucan's cries faded into weak sobs. Valerius spoke calmly, Obedience preserves order. I felt something break inside me. Later I found Lucan trembling in the shadows. I tried, I said. He gave a faint smile. Don't try. Win. His words confused me. That night I did not sleep. I stared at the ceiling and replayed every word, every insult, every touch. They believed this was normal. They believed we would remain small. I whispered into the darkness. I will not beg. I will not break. Freedom suddenly felt too small a dream. I did not want escape anymore. I wanted power. And for the first time I began to believe I could take it. I stopped reacting. I started watching. One afternoon I poured wine while Valerius argued with Octavian. You promised discretion, Octavian said quietly. I promised results, Valerius replied. Your land purchases are attracting attention. Valerius waved a hand. Envy is not evidence. I kept my eyes lowered but I listened to every word. Later I found Gaius polishing silver alone. You heard them, he said without looking at me. I hear everything, I replied. He nodded slowly. Good. In Rome, secrets are worth more than gold. I stepped closer. Then I will become rich. He finally met my eyes. Careful. Wealth built on secrets can bury you. I'm already buried, I said. That night Felix pulled me aside. You've changed. I've adapted. You're asking questions, he said. About guests. About letters. Curiosity keeps me alive. He grabbed my wrist. You're playing with fire. I held his stare. Then I'll learn how to burn without turning to ash. He released me, uneasy. Days later, Valerius summoned me privately. You have improved, he said, studying me. You anticipate my needs. I listen carefully, I replied. That is rare. I only wish to serve well. He smiled faintly. Loyalty is rewarded. I lowered my gaze, hiding my thoughts. Loyalty was a tool, nothing more. Soon after, I carried a sealed letter toward the study. I recognized Octavian's crest on the wax. Septimus stopped me. Deliver it directly. Yes, I said. As I walked, I noticed the seal slightly cracked. I hesitated only a second before glancing at the contents. Illegal payments. Hidden accounts. Names of officials. My pulse quickened. That evening, I approached Octavian during a banquet. You seem troubled, Senator, I said softly while refilling his cup. He studied me. Why would you think that? I overhear tension, I replied carefully. The master trusts few men. Octavian's eyes sharpened. And do you trust him? My trust is not required, I answered. He smirked. Interesting answer. I stepped back. I had planted doubt without accusation. Later, Valerius questioned me. What did Octavian say to you? Only that politics is exhausting, I replied calmly. Valerius scoffed. He grows weak. Or cautious, I suggested gently. Valerius looked thoughtful. Perhaps. Small cracks. That was all I needed. In the courtyard, Gaius spoke quietly. You're steering currents now. I'm surviving, I said. There is a difference. Is there? I asked. He did not answer. Weeks passed. I carried messages, memorized schedules, observed alliances shifting. I complimented Octavian's caution. I praised Valerius' ambition. Felix confronted me again. You're gaining his favor. That protects us, I replied. Or condemns us. Trust me, I said. He shook his head. I don't know who you are anymore. His words lingered long after he left. One night, Valerius poured me wine instead of the other way around. You are not like the others, he said. How so? You think. I forced a modest smile. Thinking pleases you. It does. For the first time I saw dependence in his eyes. Not affection. Need. I returned to my chamber and stared at my reflection. Was I becoming them? Calculating. Cool. I whispered to myself, power does not have to corrupt. It can correct. But even as I said it, doubt crept in. The next morning, Octavian requested my presence during his visit. Valerius frowned. He favors you. I only follow instructions, I said. Valerius studied me carefully as if seeing something new. I felt it then, the shift. Not chains loosening. Strings forming in my hands. I had no sword. No army. But I had information. And in Rome, information could topple marble statues. For the first time since arriving, I did not feel like prey. I felt dangerous. The banquet hall glittered with gold and wine. I stood behind Valerius as Octavian entered, smiling too widely. You look tense, old friend, Octavian said. I am never tense, Valerius replied. I poured wine slowly. My hands did not shake. Octavian leaned closer. Then perhaps you can explain why officials are asking about your estates. Valerius' jaw tightened. Idle gossip. Is it? Octavian asked. Aurelia's eyes moved to me. Why is he hovering so near? I serve where I'm told, I said calmly. Octavian watched me carefully. He serves well. Almost too well. Valerius slammed his cup down. Speak plainly. Octavian reached into his robe and produced a folded letter. Recognize this seal? I lowered my gaze to hide the spark in my eyes. It was the letter I had redirected days ago. Valerius paled. Where did you get that? It found its way to the wrong hands, Octavian replied. Aurelia turned sharply toward me. You delivered correspondence this week. I deliver many things, I answered evenly. Septimus stepped forward. The boy follows orders. Does he? Aurelia asked coldly. Octavian opened the letter. Payments. Hidden accounts. Names of bribed officials. Murmurs filled the hall. Valerius stood. Forgery. Octavian shook his head. Investigators disagree. I stepped back as servants whispered around me. Valerius pointed at Octavian. You planned this. You grew careless, Octavian replied. Aurelia grabbed my arm once guests began leaving. What did you see? Only what I was shown, I said. Her grip tightened. If you betray this house, you will regret it. I have nothing, I replied softly. How can I betray? Septimus studied me later that night. You were calm. I have learned discipline, I answered. Too much discipline can hide ambition, he said. I held his stare. Ambition requires power. And you think you have none? I did not respond. Days later, Lucan collapsed in the corridor. I rushed to his side. Lucan, I whispered. He struggled to breathe. It hurts. I glared at Septimus. He needs a physician. He disobeyed again, Septimus replied flatly. He's sick. Lucan gripped my hand weakly. Don't fight. I won't leave you, I said. He gave a faint smile. Don't let them win. His fingers loosened. Lucan. I shook him gently. Silence answered me. Something inside me hardened completely. At dinner that evening, Valerius shouted at a messenger. More accusations? Yes, Senator. The council demands inquiry. Aurelia whispered harshly, your allies withdraw. Valerius looked at me suddenly. You. Have you heard anything? Only fear, I replied. From whom? From everyone. He stared as if trying to read my soul. In the courtyard, Felix approached me slowly. It's spreading. The rumors. I know, I said. They say officials seized documents. Then the walls are cracking. Felix searched my face. Did you do this? I thought of Lucan's final breath. I did what I had to. Valerius' voice echoed from inside the villa, furious and desperate. For the first time, I did not feel small when he shouted. I felt steady. His empire, built on control, was trembling. Servants whispered. Guards looked uncertain. Invitations stopped arriving. Aurelia avoided my eyes. Septimus watched me like a threat. And I stood in the center of it all, silent and composed. For the first time since I was sold, I did not feel powerless. I felt in control. Valerius summoned me before dawn. The villa felt hollow, stripped of pride. He stood alone in his study. "Close the door," he ordered. I obeyed. He faced me slowly. "Did you betray me?" His voice was calm, but I heard the crack beneath it. "I served you," I replied. "That is not what I asked." I met his eyes. "You taught me how to survive." His jaw tightened. "Answer me plainly." I listened. I learned. I adapted. "Did you deliver that letter?" he demanded. I delivered what was placed in my hands. Rage flashed across his face. "You think you are clever?" "No," I said quietly. "I think I am alive." He stepped closer. "I raised you from nothing." "You purchased me," I corrected. "I gave you comfort, protection. You gave me chains made of silk." He stared at me as if seeing a stranger. "You used my trust. You used my life." Footsteps echoed in the corridor. Heavy. Official. Valerius glanced toward the door. "You don't understand the forces you've stirred." "I understand them very well," I said. The door opened. Roman officials entered with guards. "Senator Valerius," one announced, "you are charged with corruption and unlawful payments." "This is political theater," Valerius snapped. "You may defend yourself before the council." Guards moved to his sides. He looked at me one last time. "You will regret this." I held his gaze. "No, I won't." They led him away. Aurelia rushed past me in the hallway, her face pale. She did not speak. She did not look at me. By evening she was gone. Septimus avoided me all day. When I searched for him at night, his quarters were empty. Felix approached me slowly in the courtyard. "It's over," he whispered. "Yes," I said. He studied my face. "What are you now?" I felt the weight of silence around us. The villa no longer commanded fear. It felt like a shell. "Free," I answered. The word tasted strange. Felix exhaled. "And what does freedom feel like?" I looked at my hands. They were steady. "Different," I said. "Heavy." The gates that once trapped me now stood open. Valerius had lost everything: his title, his power, his certainty. I had lost something too. The boy who arrived in chains no longer existed. In his place stood someone sharper. Someone who understood that survival was not enough. Power had shifted. And I was still standing. I stood before the council and answered their questions. "Did Valerius conceal payments?" one official asked. "Yes," I said. "Did you witness unlawful dealings?" I carried the letters myself. They studied me like I was evidence, not a man. After hours of testimony, one of them finally said, "You are granted legal freedom for your cooperation." Freedom. The word echoed louder than chains ever had. Outside the hall, Felix found me. "So it's true?" "Yes," I replied. "What will you do now?" "Leave." Rome moved on quickly. New scandals replaced old ones. Boys still stood in marble halls, trained to smile. Nothing changed for them. Gaius pressed a small pouch into my hand before I left the villa. "Hidden savings," he said. "Start over." "Why help me?" I asked. "Because you listened." I nodded. "Thank you." As I stepped beyond the gates, I whispered to myself, "They took my innocence. They shaped my anger. But they did not keep my future. I'm not the boy I was. I'm not broken either. They called it normal. They called it culture. But I lived it. And I survived it."